Hey Evolving Beauties, my name is Valerie. I'm the CEO of Makeup Evolution Store as well as Just Evolve Academy. Makeup Evolution Store, you can find all things beauty, and Just Evolve Academy, you will find all business tips. I'm really excited to make this video. I've had YouTube for quite a while now, but I just haven't been consistent. Well, I'm kind of pretty much thinking to possibly do something that fits our Beauty Boss client and that fits our Makeup Evolution client. So pretty much it'll be valuable content in the beauty industry for Makeup Evolution as far as like makeup tips, beauty tips, along with self-care tips. And then for Just Evolve Academy, it will be anything that has to do with business. So today I'm really excited. This video is going to be on how to find a retail or studio location. I ran a brick and mortar for 4 years up until the pandemic. We pivot to online only, which I personally feel like it was the best move I could have ever made for my business. And when I first started Makeup Evolution, my whole intention was to start a business to where I can be closer to home and have more time to spend with my family, because I used to travel a lot as a professional makeup artist. But what I didn't realize is having a retail location takes more than just the store hours. So that's a tip that I recommend to really consider. If you're like myself, I mean, family is huge to me, and it ultimately, from years ago, since I've had my first child, I've been trying to find a career that fits into like life and work balance. So I thought the Makeup Evolution store brick and mortar location was going to do that for me. I feel like it has in some ways, but at the same time, like our biggest years were the ones that I worked the most. So I knew beating my numbers were going to take me working even more. But we'll get to that in some video down the line. Again, I just feel like online has been the best transition for me because I've been able to have a lot more time to spend with my family without taking a pay cut. And I've been able to be here for my girls while they're doing the homeschooling thing. So back to how to find a retail or studio location. It's so important to set a budget. So let's start off by setting a budget. The way I like to break this down is I like to work backwards. So pretty much when I talk to my clients, I ask them, how much are you trying to make annually, right? So let's say they're trying to make $100,000 a year, right? So if they're trying to make $100,000 a year, they have to add on, let's say rent is $1,000, right? This is take home $100,000. Let's say $1,000 for 12 months, right? So they're going to have to bring in $112,000 to make sure they cover the rent expense. Now, I have them take a while and really think about, is that something that they feel is doable for themselves, as far as like trading their time for money? You know, are they going to be able to work 12 hours a day? Also depending on their services and the products. And again, that's a whole nother video, so we'll get more into it in details in another video. But this is just kind of giving you an idea of like how to set a budget. Is that doable for you? Now, let's say you already have a running business and you're trying to find a retail location. I would set a budget as to not how much more you want to make, but how much are you willing to use of your profit right now towards rent when you find a location, and then we'll worry about making more to make that money back. Because I feel like no matter what, if you're in a location, you can find ways to make that money back that you're putting out. So set a budget. It's also important to count in expenses, whether if it's like the landlord's going to charge you water, or common area management where you have to pay a payment towards everyone who shares the common area. Also, you know, there's so many expenses to really consider. So, you know, your internet, your phone bill, in expenses, I really would love for you guys to take note of this. In the expenses, it's so important to consider like your seller's permits, business license for the city. There's a couple things that you should really take into account, and I can actually do like licenses and permits videos separately, that way, because it's very, very detailed. That way you know in advance like what you have to consider. If not, you can always look it up as well. You should always have some type of cushion to cover any type of rainy day. Let's say if someone breaks into your building, is management going to cover that, or is that something that you have to cover? So this is some expenses that I actually can say that from experience that I've gone through, that it was so important to know that I had that cushion in the bank account to cover when they broke my window. The zone and demographics. So this is really important, especially before you get into a location. Make sure that you can provide the service that you are offering in that zone. And the way you can find that out is by going to your city clerk's office and asking them. You can also search it online, but most importantly, demographic. So this is somewhere where I feel like I kind of learned, the hard way. I really strive to be as innovative as possible, and I'm also very adaptable to like situations. But you know, when I traveled, I worked with only high-end makeup lines. So the makeup lines that I was working with were in skincare, started at $65 and up. Foundation started at $32 and up. And when I opened up the store in my area, I should have really considered the demographic that I'm targeting, because in our demographic, it's a little bit more low mid-class demographic, to where you just kind of have to anticipate that the sale is going to be harder to sell if it's a lower demographic rather than a high, like a high class demographic. So this is research that I think is so important, because you want to really be prepared for this. So in my case, I feel like I've had so many years of experience in the industry, so it's really easy for me to create the value in the products that I knew. And because I've worked with so many high-end products, it was easier for me, which we carried in our store mostly high-end products. It was easier for me to create the value to the customer and let the customer know why they should spend this much. But the hard part was getting someone who's never worked with these products to understand the value of the products and then sell it to the customer. So, you know, I had employees, again, for that work-life balance, and one of the hardest things, well, not only one of the hardest things, but a hard part of that was to get them to understand the value and why we need to create sales in order to continue business. Also, the time that training takes. So as a small business, it's kind of hard to have someone that's fairly new, but it's also hard to have someone that's experienced and pay them the right amount when you're so new. So that will also be another video, because I feel like I can go into mega detail on that. So really think about, is the product that you're trying to sell sellable to your demographic? So if you're trying to sell a Gucci bag, I don't know, a Gucci bag at a low mid-class area, it's gonna be a way harder sell than it would be trying to sell a Gucci bag in a high-class area. So please, please, please consider those facts and consider those things that can possibly hold you back from actually producing sales. Also, shop around. Is there anyone else in your area that's selling high-end stuff? So that was kind of like a double-edged sword for us, because there wasn't really anybody else in our area selling high-end stuff, but it also made it harder for us to sell high-end stuff, because they were able to buy lower-end stuff at, which wouldn't really be our competitor, but at most of the beauty retailers in our area. So also, as far as demographic goes, we are mostly Hispanic in this area. And being mostly Hispanic in this area, if I didn't have staff who didn't speak Spanish, it would definitely affect my sales. So it's so good to know your demographic before you actually choose a location and get a studio or get a retail location because you want to understand who your audience is. And really, you can't change that. If they live in that demographic, they live in that demographic. The only thing that you can change is probably make yourself a little bit more adaptable to being able to serve that community. Next thing is how easy it is to find and how easy it is to get into it. So luckily for us, we build most of our followers and most of our sales through social media. So I feel like because we had a high following in social media, they would take the time to actually find us. And this was when social media was first, like Instagram was first really like popping off. I do feel like it is a little more saturated or a little bit more competitive now, to where now it's like if they see you, they're gonna pull in. And with my location, what was happening was if they didn't follow us on social media, they wouldn't find us. If they were just driving down this busy street where we were located, they would have never seen us because we were facing a certain way towards a double street. So if you were coming this way, you could see our building, but if you were coming this way, you would miss us. So as far as like driving by traffic, finding us, it was really hard. Another thing is I find a lot of times, like when clients are looking for locations, it's really hard to get into their locations. So I don't know about you, but I'm very about convenience. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I'd rather go to the place where I can just go right and jump right in, not to the place where I have to make a U-turn and then get to the actual location. So really take yourself through the steps as a consumer to see if it's something that's gonna be a hassle or something that's gonna be convenient. Because in this day and age, we're up against the internet, and the internet is one of the most convenient things. So if we can't find a location that's either easy to get into or easy to see, then you might run into problems there. Don't pick the first location you see. So this is really big because I actually got offered a location, so it made it a lot easier for me to just jump right into it. It's a family-owned building, so it was easy, it was easy for me. But after being in my location and running into things like and running into things like how hard it is to get into my location. I had our brick and mortar for 4 years. Till the last day we took a sale, there were people still telling us that I've never seen this place. So luckily for online, we were able to do good anyways. In our social media traffic, we were still able to do good. So, but I feel like if you're starting from scratch, maybe no followers, and really trying to get your name out there and trying to build your exposure, if your location isn't viewable, you're gonna have more trouble. And then going back to don't pick the first location. So mine was a really easy to get. It was my first one. I had to figure out, like, could I even afford it? These are just things that I'm bringing up from experience that I wish I would have known before. So don't pick the first location. I really recommend to shop around and see what other options are there for you, because you might run into the things that I mentioned above. Now, the best place I recommend to search for an actual location is either drive around in the area that you're possibly looking for. I wanted something close to home, so it worked out because it was right here close to home. But maybe you don't want close to home. Maybe if we go back to talking about the demographics, maybe it's going to be about 20-30 minutes away. So go shop that area, see if there's any renter signs, or you can also go on Craigslist. One of the best places, one of the higher places to look on. So that's what I would recommend as far as when you're doing your search. Now, as far as leasing agreement and like things to look out for when you're actually going to sign the lease, or things to look out for when you're actually going to commit, that's also going to be a separate video, because unfortunately I'm so new to YouTube. I only have about 12 or 15 minutes to talk on here. So for now, this is only the information I'm going to give you, but I look forward in creating more videos for you guys to help you either start your storefront retailer or studio, or your online business where you run everything remotely as I've done both. I'm currently in the online area and I'm really loving that part right now. So I can go more into detail too of why I prefer online now versus storefront. That can also be another video. You guys let me know. Again, I'm really short on time as far as like how much YouTube is offering me to speak on here. You guys let me know what you guys want to see in the comments below. For more, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and I will have all the rest of my social media posted down below. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. Bye.